Already you can see
Dragon SpaceX, nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts. Nose cone deploy is in progress. Hooks are opening.
sets of hooks that are now disengaging. And once that is complete, we are able to deploy, open the nose cone. We should see that nose cone deploy in about a minute. It's a great view on the right-hand side of your screen from the Falcon 9 second stage, looking at the Dragon Freedom capsule. And of course, the crew on the left-hand side playfully acclimating to their new zero-G environment. You can see the zero-G indicator in the background. And I love this view. This view is over the shoulders of Commander Peggy Whitson, who here is on the left-hand side, or the left seat, and pilot John Schaffner is on the right seat here, looking at what they're looking at. These are the crew display panels that they utilize in flight to track which thrusters are firing, what phase of the mission that they are in, as you can see, where they are around the globe. All right, as we can see, crew getting acclimated. The nose cone hooks are...
We're just about full. It'll finish up at the T-minus 6 minute mark. Densified liquid oxygen loading is continuing on the first stage and the second stage. Both stages well underway. First stage is nearing a completion, but it won't wrap up until T-minus 3 minutes. The second stage just began a few minutes ago. That'll wrap up at T-minus 2 minutes. As we get closer to launch, we will do various checkouts. One is the thrust vector controllers. These are what move the engine nozzles around on the first and second stage engine. And when we move those nozzles, we call it TVC wiggles. Those will be done inside 10 minutes. We'll also be doing checkouts of throttle valves on the engine. Now the range currently is go. Air and sea space are clear. The weather, you heard the briefing from the Corps up to the crew. We're watching one anvil cloud. It's within 5 miles, but it's got to just stay more than 3 miles away, and we will be go to fly. And meanwhile, the Dragon team also had reported they're working no issues. Everything is complete through the countdown. The comm checkouts are finished. The access arm is retracted. The launch escape system is armed. The crew is strapped in and ready to go. We're coming up on final instructions of the crew. We'll hear that at T-minus 10 minutes. They'll configure their displays for launch. They'll get the last messages, and then we'll go into the terminal countdown sequence. Let's listen into the countdown net.
Dragon SpaceX, confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
And SpaceX Dragon, we can confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX copies. And on behalf of the entire SpaceX team, we are honored to have you aboard Dragon Capsule Freedom today on its next trip to the International Space Station and the second Axiom crew mission. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
Let freedom fly.
Hear the crew calling back to the ground, let freedom fly. We see them applauding. Everything continuing to look good. We're coming up on 9 minutes to launch. Next major event is going to be engine chill at T-minus 7 minutes.
As John just said, at T-minus 7 minutes, we will begin to flow a little bit of the super chilled liquid oxygen through the turbo pumps, which That is basically chilling the hardware, performing an engine chill prior to the full flow. We do that in order to help minimize the chances of the hardware experiencing any thermal shock when that full flow of super chilled liquid oxygen occurs. Now we can see some venting from the vehicle now. Totally normal. It is that liquid oxygen just vaporizing as it comes into contact with the ambient air.
And Kate, maybe this is an opportunity. You know, we always use the word abort. This might be a chance to let everybody know that there are abort callouts in flight that we're going to hear. Those are just heads up to the crew that says, should a contingency occur, there's different actions that'll happen at each various stage of the flight, when you're on first stage or when you're on second stage.
That's right. We should actually hear Commander Peggy Whitson calling those abort modes out as they are ascending and really getting to orbit. She is tracking everything on her, both her tablet as well on her leg, as well as the crew display above her head. So she is able to identify at which mode they are entering, and those modes identify basically where and what sequence Dragon would take at that point in time during the flight. Now we're about 10 seconds away from that engine chill for the first stage.
Engine chill has started.
All right, right on time. We've opened the valves that are letting liquid oxygen and kerosene fuel down to the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Our next major activity coming up at T-minus 6 minutes approximately. We'll hear the announcement that fuel loading is complete on the first stage. And one other comment, while we were hearing the briefing to the crew at the T-minus 10 minute mark, we also heard reference to a call out that may or may not be made at T-minus 35 seconds. Many of the checkouts of the Falcon 9 are done by computer in the last minute. There is one today that requires an engineer to look at some data. If, for example, that system had an issue, that would be called out at T-minus 35 seconds. Right now, everything continues to look good, though, on Falcon 9.
We also heard in the briefing that they are tracking an anvil cloud that at the time of the briefing was about 5 miles away from the pad. They are tracking it. It just needs to stay outside of 3 miles, so everything still continues to look okay on that front. The next call out that we'll hear in about 30 seconds is that Dragon has transitioned to the terminal count configuration. That's basically an indication that the Dragon spacecraft has taken over the spacecraft's countdown and will at that point be on internal power. At this point in time, RP-1 is now completely loaded, both on the first and second stages. LOX load continues on both stages. It'll wrap up at T-minus 3 minutes for first stage and T-minus 2 minutes for second stage.
Falcon in advance are pressurizing for strongback retract.
Pressurization call out. We are putting pressurized gas helium onto the stage in preparation for opening up the clamp arm that's around the top of the second stage. That'll happen just at about the T-minus 4 minute mark. Clamp arm will open, and about 10 seconds after that, the strongback, the structure alongside the Falcon 9, will recline just about two degrees away. We've heard the call out, strongback is retracting. That starts the sequence now in the ground computer to open the arms and recline that strongback about 2 degrees away. At liftoff, hydraulics will then pull the strongback to a position about 45 degrees away from the rocket as it flies out of the launch mount. See the arms opening up now around the second stage.
We should now be able to see that strongback retract just a couple degrees away from the launch vehicle. Upon liftoff, it will move back even further in order to clear the way for Falcon 9. Looks like we can start to see that movement now. This structure is what is utilized to horizontally integrate the vehicles while still in the hangar, as well as transport them horizontally to the launch pad and then raise them to their vertical launch position.
And we've got the strongback is now, you see a little bounce there as it stops.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And right on time, stage 1 LOX load is complete. We're down to just loading liquid oxygen on the second stage. That'll wrap up just after T-minus 2 minutes, at which point we'll have the million pounds of propellant on board Falcon 9 ready to fly.
We can see the vehicle continuing to vent some of that gaseous, or the liquid oxygen that has now vaporized.
Dragon is in terminal count and is on internal power.
We have a live view there of the SpaceX team here at headquarters in Mission Control on the left-hand side, as well as the Axiom team from their own Mission Control as well on the right.
Dragon SpaceX for weather. Looks like the system has cleared and we're looking like we're go for launch for weather.
All right, we've heard a good news information to the crew.
Dragon copies.
We're letting them know that it appears the weather is going to avoid the area.
That is great news indeed.
Just waiting now for the call out. Liquid oxygen load complete on the second stage.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete. Dragon is in auto idle. Ground gas closeouts, expect cloud venting.
At venting, we're now bleeding off excess pressure in the strongback. That's what's giving that large white plume as cold gas meets the warm Florida air and condenses the moisture. Coming up on 1 minute where the flight computers will take over the sequence. Let's listen in to the launch of Falcon 9 with Dragon and the Axiom 2 crew.
FTS is armed, Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling. Dragon is in countdown.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
Dragon copies. Go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff, Falcon 9. Go Axiom.
Stage 1 Alpha.
Copy 1 Alpha.
Together we expand what is
Vehicle
possible in
efficient
low
range.
Earth orbit. Add Astra and Godspeed
Stage 1,
AX2.
Alpha.
Plus 30 seconds into this historic. T plus 36 seconds into flight. A great view of Falcon 9 heading to space.
Power telemetry is nominal.
A
Stage
great
1
call.
throttle down.
Power telemetry nominal. We're into the throttle bucket as the first stage is throttle down power on the Merlin engines in preparation for max Q.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Faster than the speed of sound as we're getting great views from the first stage camera looking back at Kennedy Space Center Complex 39A.
Stage 1 throttle up.
Max Q.
We're out of the throttle bucket.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
We're at full power, and that call out 1 Bravo, that's another one of those abort modes. As we get higher and faster, the logic for Dragon, should a contingency occur, changes from stage to stage.
Impact chill is underway.
Chill announcement says we're getting the turbo pump on the second stage engine cooled down in preparation for its light up, coming up in just another minute from now. Again, great views looking back, and you can see the contrail as we left 39A and the shadow of the contrail against the cloud deck around Florida. Now we're coming up 3 big sequences and a view live of the crew inside Dragon. They're getting ready. We're going to get 3 events here. Main engine cutoff, stage separation,
down.
and then we're going to light the second stage engine. We've heard the throttle down in preparation for stage separation.
Eco.
2 Alpha.
Stage separation confirmed.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
And back ignition.
Stage 1 boost back startup.
All right, stage separation. We've lit the second stage engine. The first stage is into the boost back burn, working its way back towards Cape Canaveral. Views on the left side, that's the first stage. Engines running as we come back to the launch site, or the landing site. Second stage engine nozzle is visible on the right side as we're powering the Axiom 2 crew into low Earth orbit on the way to the International Space Station. Waiting for call out that the boost back burn is complete.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
Right on time. First stage completed the first of 3 burns, heading back to the landing site. Second stage continuing on power and on trajectory.
Acquisition signal, Bermuda.
Head northeast, the Bermuda ground station.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Bermuda is listening in to the vehicle now.
Nominal trajectory.
And the crew hears the call out of a nominal trajectory. So 4 minutes into flight, everything continuing to go well. First stage heading back, and there's the crew on the second stage, getting the ride into orbit to the space station.
Your folks might understand you by and by. Just move on up toward your destination. Though you may find from time to time complications.
Coming up, we're waiting for the next trajectory call out from the guidance officer.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Love to hear those words. A nominal trajectory for Dragon.
Copy. Nominal trajectory.
And maybe even a little bit of excitement in the crew's voice. Commander Peggy Whitson calling back down, hearing that call out from GNC of a nominal trajectory. Left side of the screen, you can see the first stage. It's now beginning to orient itself so that the engines are pointed down towards the land as we will be descending towards landing zone 1 in Cape Canaveral. The 4 titanium grid fins have all deployed. They'll help guide
Acquisition signal, boss.
They'll guide the first stage through once we get into the atmosphere following the entry burn, which will be coming up here in another couple of minutes. On the right-hand side, the second stage with the Dragon capsule on top, heading up the eastern seaboard of the U.S. We've just heard the call out of Boston. That's the New Hampshire tracking station, has picked up the signal.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
GNC continuing to make those call outs that we want to hear. Everything
Trajectory
continuing to look
nominal.
good. Crew echoing them right back down. Good comms with the crew. We've been able to bring some live video shots from inside the capsule as they're headed to space. And there's another view of the crew.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there we heard that the startup burn for that stage 1 booster, you can see it there on the left-hand side of your screen, has now begun.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And conclusion of that entry burn, that burn helps to slow the vehicle down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere. The first stage sees high drag, which scrubs roughly 70% of the velocity by the time that landed.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Love to hear that call out. Everything
Nominal trajectory.
Beautiful view of planet Earth coming to us from the second stage views on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, our first view of the Space Coast once again. This booster is attempting a landing at LZ1.
Stage 1 transonic.
That booster is now traveling near the speed of sound. Live view coming to you from one of our tracking cameras. We can see the grid fins actuating to help steer the booster down.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
Standing by to...
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
There you
Stage 1
can,
landing confirmed.
you can see that first stage has landed back at LZ1. This is the first time that we have performed a land landing on a crew mission. Coming up next will be second engine cutoff, or SECO, and that's where after that engine cuts off, the second stage will coast for a few minutes until Dragon is commanded to separate.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
We're expecting SECO to occur in about 20 seconds.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
Commander Peggy Whitson continuing to call out the abort modes.
Pico.
All right, on-time shutdown of that second engine. Also confirming that the launch escape system is now disarmed.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
All right, and there's that call out. We can confirm good orbital insertion.
Copy. Nominal insertion.
Dragon SpaceX, launch escape system disarmed.
We can see the crew playing with their
Dragon
harnesses
copy.
now that they are in zero-G, which I think we just got a view of our zero-G Stuffy. Clearly the crew is having fun already. Right after liftoff, I think we heard a laugh coming from Commander Peggy Whitson, which, being a NASA legend and one of the most decorated astronauts of all time, it's amazing to hear that even a space veteran as she
Affected loss of signal, Cape.
still has fun at liftoff. The next event that we have coming up at just around T plus 12 minutes is Dragon separation. That's where the Dragon spacecraft and trunk, so collectively referred to as the Dragon spacecraft, will separate from the second stage.
Acquisition signal, New Finland.
After that separation, we will begin to deploy the nose cone, which exposes the forward bulkhead thrusters as well as the forward hatch. That forward hatch is what the capsule utilizes to autonomously dock to the International Space Station. Going from left to right, everyone's having fun, clearly. We have mission specialist Rayana Barnawi. To the right of her is pilot John Schaffner. Then we have Commander Peggy Whitson. And on the far right, Mission Specialist Ali Al-Karni. We can see that the excess strap on some of the harnesses, as well as the writing utensil for their tablets, they continue to play around with as they are experiencing zero-G for the first time. At least we can say that for 3 of the 4 astronauts on board today. Now we are standing by for Dragon separation, which is expected to occur in the next few seconds.
Dragon separation.
And there you can see live on your screen that Dragon shrunken capsule.
Dragon copies. Dragon copies.
That's a really cool view. That's
Dragon
actually
SpaceX launch director. A very great flight. Wish you safe travels. A few words from our chief engineer as well.
Thanks for putting your trust in the Falcon 9 team. Hope you enjoyed the ride to space. Have a great trip on Dragon. Welcome home to zero-G, Peggy.
That was SpaceX Chief Engineer Bill
Happy to be
Gerstenmaier.
here. It was a phenomenal ride.
Make sure you share the joy of zero-G with your crew.
We will do that.
Already you can see Dragon's Draco thrusters activating.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal dehumidifier activation and surface section Draco checkouts. Nose cone deploy is in progress. Hooks are opening.
Dragon copies.
All right, great news there to let us know that the hooks, there are 2 sets of hooks.
Signal, Bermuda.
2 sets of hooks that are now disengaging. And once that is complete, we are able to deploy, open the nose cone. We should see that nose cone deploy in about a minute. It's a great view on the right-hand side of your screen from the Falcon 9 second stage, looking at the Dragon Freedom capsule. Of course, the crew on the left-hand side playfully acclimating to their new zero-G environment. You can see the zero-G indicator in the background. And I love this view. This view is over the shoulders of Commander Peggy Whitson, who here is on the left-hand side, or the left seat, and pilot John Schaffner is on the right seat here, looking at what they're looking at. These are the crew display panels that they utilize in flight to track which thrusters are firing, what phase of the mission that they are in, as you can see, where they are around the globe. All right, as we can see, crew getting acclimated. The nose cone hooks are
just about full. It'll finish up at the T-minus 6 minute mark. Densified liquid oxygen loading is continuing on the first stage and the second stage. Both stages well underway. First stage is nearing completion, but it won't wrap up until T-minus 3 minutes. The second stage just began a few minutes ago. That'll wrap up at T-minus 2 minutes. As we get closer to launch, we will do various checkouts. One is the thrust vector controllers. These are what move the engine nozzles around on the first and second stage engine. And when we move those nozzles, we call it TVC wiggles. Those will be done inside 10 minutes. We'll also be doing checkouts of throttle valves on the engine. Now the range currently is go. Air and sea space are clear. The weather, You heard the briefing from the core up to the crew. We're watching one anvil cloud. It's within 5 miles, but it's got to just stay more than 3 miles away, and we will be go to fly. And meanwhile, the Dragon team also had reported they're working no issues. Everything is complete through the countdown. The comm checkouts are finished. The access arm is retracted. The launch escape system is armed. The crew is strapped in and ready to go. We're coming up on final instructions of the crew. We'll hear that at T-minus 10 minutes. They'll configure their displays for launch. They'll get the last messages, and then we'll go into the terminal countdown sequence.